Welcome to the very first episode of the Dojo podcast. This has been something that has really taken a lot of time, and this has been such a long thing in the works. Me and Braden, also known as Ninja Whip, have really been trying to put this thing together, and I think now is the perfect time to finally release our own podcast. It's going to be a weekly series airing hopefully every Wednesday, but don't quote me on that. But you guys know how I am with uploads. But hopefully it's going to be a weekly series every single Wednesday where me and Ninja Whip discuss everything and anything Ninjago. Now, in today's episode, we're actually going to be diving into Prime Empire since I just watched all 12 episodes today, and I believe there are 16, if I'm not mistaken, in Prime Empire.
Yep.
So,
16.
yeah, so we still have 4 more episodes to go by, but I still feel like 12 out of the 16 episodes is still a really good thing to talk about since I really haven't given my thoughts on the season as of yet on my channel. And I feel like Braden is also a very well-versed Ninjago fan, so the conversation that we're going to be having here is going to be quite interesting. So, without further ado, let's kind of dive into, I guess, my feelings on this season as a whole so far. Because coming
Yeah.
into this, I really wasn't that excited, I'll be honest. Like, were you excited, Braden, when you were going
I
into
mean,
this?
I'm a Ninjago fan. I was excited, but season 11 kind of let me down a bit. So I had my, suspicions on the season, um, due to season 11. You know.
I mean, that's exactly how I was. Like, I'll be honest, the reason why my YouTube channel was kind of in a hiatus, it's because season 11 really killed my vibe. And, after going through the first half of season 11, I told myself, there's no way that Ninjago can come back from this. I was like, it might as well just be dead. And I kind of just stopped caring about it. I mean, it goes to show that I literally haven't watched any episode of the Ice chapter. So there's still, I think, like 15 mini episodes for me to watch that I just don't care about because I heard that they were trash.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they're trash because the first half of season 11 was awful. It really was not a fun experience to go through. So coming into this, I really was not excited. And for whatever reason, this morning I woke up and obviously we're stuck here in quarantine. And I told
Right.
myself I really have nothing else to do, so I might as well just give this Prime Empire thing a shot. And here we are. I'm actually really glad that I did give the season a shot because I didn't have much faith in Bragi, who's the lead writer for this season. And he has been for the past 2, if you count the March the Oni as its own standalone
hmm
season. But I really did think that he was kind of messing up with Ninjago because March of the Oni, I mean, let's face it, most of those episodes were stinkers. They were kind of bad. And then we had season 11,
Yeah.
which is just a mess in and of itself. And so I was really like upset with Bragi because I was like, what are you doing, bro? Like, you're messing with Ninjago and it's not good. And then here we have Prime Empire, and he kind of did a complete 180 in where it just feels like a brand new show. It feels reinvigorated. It feels alive again. And that's something
hmm
that I really do have to commend about this season. It's the fact that the atmosphere of this season, the gaming thing, I had my doubts when I first heard about the Ninja going back into technology, back into gaming. I was like, it kind of did all right with Rebooted, but I felt like that was all that they could do. And then Brady kind of proved us all wrong in this sense, or at least me wrong, because he kind of found a twist in where this all goes and fits so perfectly with Ninjago. It really does feel like a continuation of the good days of like season 9 of season 8. Even though I do know that a lot of you guys know I don't really like Hunted. I really love the Ninjago City portion of Hunted, and then I feel like the First Realm portion of Hunted is kind of garbage. I really didn't like that arc whatsoever. So that's why I really like am split when I talk about Hunted, because it is such a good season when you only consider the Ninjago City parts, but like that First Realm part just stunk so badly. I just can't wrap my hand around giving that season a good rap just because I the first realm episode, I mean, the first realm arcs are kind of stinkers in my opinion. But that's just a topic for another video. But in regards to Prime Empire, I was actually pleasantly surprised. And if a lot of you guys were on the same boat as myself when it comes to Season 12 and Ninjago as a whole, I really do suggest that you guys give this season a chance and a shot because you guys will not be disappointed. I mean, it is probably some of the most entertaining Ninjago since Sons of Garbodon. I will be honest. Like, it really is on that level where the characters that they introduce, all the new characters, which you think are kind of going to be whack or lame, like they were in Season 11, they're actually good and well written characters. Like, they serve their purpose and they're not overused. These characters, they have their limits and they're only used when absolutely necessary to further the story. And so, of course, you have additions like Scott, who, in my opinion, is probably one of the most badass characters in this season as a whole. And then you have my personal favorite, Okino, which I think is probably one of the best Ninjago characters as a whole. I just love his story and everything that he stands for. It just really is such a cool character. And to have him kind of have that depressed mentality as well, it's something to relate to, especially, as Ninjago fans kind of get older and you realize that life isn't really all about happiness and stuff like that. And there are going to be some times where you do feel down. Okino kind of gives you that relatability, which I really did enjoy as well. So, I don't know. What do you think about these characters, Brayden?
I honestly love them. I think they're great. The points that you touched on were great. I like the designs of the characters as well, how different they are. Compared to some of the other characters we've gotten, they're not plain. They're new. I like their color scheme. Their minifigures in the sets are cool, so I really like that. And their voice actors are great too. I mean, I just love their voices. And then just having the story of each of that character, like having the character development of those characters also is something that I really really enjoy. How they explain the story and how they expand more on those just standalone characters, even by giving them their own episode or kind of helping the ninja explain what's going on. So like it's really cool. I actually really like them a lot. They're great characters so far in Prime Empire.
No, I do agree with you. And like one thing that I forgot to mention was the voice acting. Because whenever they bring in new characters, you're obviously a lot of Ninjago fans would be concerned with how these characters are going to be voiced and how the performance is going to be. And I think Okino knocks it out of the park, giving that like Japanese kind of like accent. I mean, I think it's Japanese, but I'm not too sure. But I have heard that voice used in a lot of animes, like Monastery, like that type of thing. Like it's just so good. I really it's so unique to Ninjago because I don't think we've really had a character like that before. We of course had Karloff, who added his kind of like a Russian accent twist to everything, but we really haven't seen like some kind of true. I really hope it's a Japanese accent, but I'm not too sure. But I'm going to call it Japanese for the sake of this episode. If you guys actually know what that accent is, if you guys actually know what that accent is, then please leave a comment down below. But the voice acting is spectacular. Scott's voice is also great. I mean, it's nothing that stands out too much.
It just sounds like a teenage kid. You know what I'm saying? Like it sounds really cool to me. Like it just sounds like you're a teenage kid. You know what I'm saying? Like
right. Like he's just a player in the game, and he just sounds like your typical like everything that the character stands for. Like everything is perfect. So I really did like that. But this season does start off with a really cool twist as we do see a returning villain known as the Mechanic. And even though he didn't play a major role in past Ninjago seasons, he kind of is starting to be a likable character. Like, I'll be honest, dude. When I first saw him on screen, I was like, oh, God, this is going to be annoying. Because, I didn't really, look at him as, some kind of standout character when we first saw him in that Cryptarian prison breakout thing. And here we are with the Mechanic being probably one of the, I guess, more interesting characters of this season to say. Just because we really don't know that much about him. Of course, we know that he was part of the Chen Noodle Shop gang type thing.
Right.
And, that's pretty much all the backstory we have on him. And then him, I really want to know and explore how he got in contact with Unagami or how Unagami got in contact with him and kind of explore that sense of it. I feel like that would be really cool because we still have so many questions that need to be answered. But yeah, that was just a really cool moment to see him come back on screen and kind of show the ninja taking action into their own hands, as always, stealing that motherboard. And then we, of course, had Jay, who breaks into the game, which I thought
Mm-hmm.
was a really, really cool thing. Because I was really wondering how they were going to get into this digital universe. And at first I thought it would be, the Digiverse from Cyrus Borg's end, and then it was just a completely different twist.
Yeah.
And having him disappear and having the ninja look after him, I thought was clever. Even though it wasn't anything
Oh
too
yeah.
special, I was like, they did what they had to do to get the ninja into this universe, and then to also have Zane and Pixel kind of left from the group, gonna have them a little bit separated and isolated with Wu, kind of also adds a lot. Even though I really wish that they would show more of them and their story, because so far, for the most part in this season, we really just see the Prime Empire aspect of the story. And I do know that there's
Mm-hmm.
that one scene where Zane, Pixel, and Wu go to Milton Dyer's parents' house, and they were, kind
Yeah.
of asking around there and stuff like that. But it really wasn't like too primarily focused on them. It was probably like what, maybe 2 minutes max of that episode, and then it switches back to the ninja and in their digital realm, digital game thing. So I really do wish that they kind of split more of that screen time towards the Zane and Pixel storyline, just
There is
because.
some more episodes that are coming for Zane and Pixel in Ninjago City, which is really cool. So you'll get
Yeah,
your wish there for sure.
because I do know that 13 and 14 leaked, as you told me before.
Yeah, yeah, those have to do with Pixel and Zane for the most part.
Okay, so are those exclusively Zane and Pixel storylines, or do they also have the digital stuff in there as
Um,
well?
I didn't really finish it because it's mostly dialogue. Like it's mostly, all talking and trying to investigate, Milton Dyer and things like that. So I couldn't understand. So I just kind of got bored. But most of it was Zane and Pixel. Now 13 was all Zane and Pixel, and I'm pretty sure that the episode 14 was all Zane and Pixel and Woo as well. So I really enjoyed 14. I thought 14 was cool. It was a really good episode. 13, if we had the English version, I feel like would be really good. But yeah, those two episodes look pretty promising once the English ones come out, honestly. So
Because, yeah, those two episodes I believe are in Vietnamese. Am I correct?
right, correct. Yeah, you're correct
Okay.
on that.
So, yeah, I haven't personally watched those two, even though I am tempted since this season is actually a banger. I do feel like it's a great season. Um,
Oh yeah.
but I just really love the environment of this season. For whatever reason, it really just fits Ninjago. Um,
Mm-hmm. No, I
the
agree.
the
I think it's
writers,
fantastic.
right? Like they somehow managed to create a world that feels so alive and just feels like you really get
There's so many
invested.
people, and yeah, I mean, it's like so colorful and everything. There's so much going on, like in every episode. Like even if you look in the background, there's always something going on. It's just so cool, and the fact that they portray it as a digital world, it's something that's not real, really is really great. Honestly, the world is like a dream world for people.
And that was
So
actually
cool.
one of the things that Okino had to come around to, which I thought was really, really clever.
Hmm.
Um, I just really loved his subplot as well, kind of him helping along his masters and then
Yeah,
failing so many
I agree.
times to the point where he lost faith in himself, and also helping the ninja, even, though he won't be able to reach the real world as far as we
Yeah,
know,
with
since
Unagami,
Unagami, yeah, has been kind of, threatening him
his
and stuff like
creator, he
that.
he went against his creator to do what was right, which I thought was also a really good message as well.
You
To
know,
always do what's right, no matter what.
no, that was a good message, and it kind of reminds me of the game Detroit Become Human. I don't know if you've played that, but
No.
I've recently gotten back into that game, and it kind of is the same thing where like these androids, these like robots, are
Mm-hmm.
programmed to obey humans and stuff like that, and then sometimes they get taken advantage of, they get beaten, and then they have to break their own programming to do what they think is right and protect themselves. And I kind of felt like that same parallel applied to Okino, and it also applied to Racer 7 when she was part of the storyline. And I just think it's a really cool concept to explore, especially in Ninjago, because this is all brand new stuff. It really is
Yeah,
a unique spin on the story, and I'm personally enjoying it for what it is. Um,
I agree.
in
And
regard
for something
to.
that's been going on, and like for something that's been going on this long, honestly, it feels so fresh and new, and it really just blows me out of the water of how great it is because it's a thing that's been going on for what, almost 10 years now. Next year will be 10. It's insane.
No, you're absolutely right. Like they just keep finding ways to innovate, and then next season you have that medieval theme. It's just really, I'm really
Yeah, it's
excited
gonna be
for
awesome.
what Ninjago is gonna evolve into, and I really lost faith in Ninjago because of season 11. I was like, oh boy, it's gonna be the same thing. It's gonna be snakes. It's gonna be blah blah blah. It's gonna be the same tropes. It's gonna suck. And season 12 just came and surprised the hell out of me. So I'm really pleasantly surprised with this season. I do think that the villains are cool. The Red Visors, they are kind of a menacing force because we've seen them take lives. I mean, not literally, but they basically shoot you until you become that cube that gets taken away. So at least
Yeah.
they're a threat. It's not really like the other villains where they really wouldn't have any effect on our characters, which I also like as
Mm-hmm.
well because we kind of get to see our ninja get killed off, quote unquote. Obviously Cole and
Right.
Kai got lost, and then Lloyd got
Yeah.
lost in this recent episode with
Scott.
Harumi, and
Scott's
Scott as
gone.
well. And Scott got killed by these
The Red Visors.
the red
Yeah.
visors exactly. So they
And I
are a
like
threat.
and then the fact that the energy cubes are actually used for something I think is cool because Unagami is building this big portal so he can access the real world. Because he over like he how all the other players got through their programming, he also busted his and realized that there was a world outside of his own, and he wanted to go into it. So he's using these energy cubes to build a portal into Ninjago City, which is so cool. And he's bringing his army with him, and I think that's awesome.
No, I really do like that plot point as well because it's truly like something unique because we have seen that before in regard to the Overlord, building the Garmatron to get to Ninjago City, but this
Yeah.
is a different spin on it, and I think that it's unique enough to the point where it works. It really
Oh
just
yeah.
it's a good storyline. I've really been enjoying it so far, and it really has reminded me of some animes, which I think is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing to add is the fact that Unagami, we really haven't seen much of this villain throughout the entire season. And I think that's something that is really bold because Ninjago hasn't really done this before. We're kind of
Mm-hmm.
introduced to the new villain in the first few episodes, and they become a recurring character. So to have Unagami as this mysterious presence in this season is kind of a bold statement on Bragy's end, I guess, and it's a
Yeah.
really good twist. I really did enjoy it. What do you think personally about holding off Unagami till them until those final episodes?
I think it's really cool, honestly. I think it gives him a mysterious vibe, and it's something we can all like hype up around to see like who this guy really is, what he's like. Because in the shorts for like the ones that Lego released, they had the one with the mechanic, and the mechanic and Unagami was ordering the mechanic to go send around and like build these weapons to try to find his motherboard and to get himself set up. So Unagami was sending him all these plans through a printer on the other side of the world on in the Prime Empire world. Unagami was sending these plans to make their weapons like a whole lot cooler, so they could get past the ninja and not have any difficulties. And Unagami got what he wanted. And so then finally, because the mechanic had that fire arm where he would like blow fire out of his arm,
Oh, you're right. Oh, so you're
and then
telling me that we find out why the mechanic got in contact with Unagami through these mini
yeah,
episodes?
yeah, and then the Unagami prints him off a new arm. That's why he has that new arm now, because Unagami has that thing he print off, and the mechanic built himself a new arm.
Okay, I
So
got you.
thought that was really cool. And then, just having Unagami, like, you saw him in like episode 5 and 6, or like I think it was episode 6 with the Maze of the Red Dragon. You saw him how he was very intimidating around Okino, um, trying to get what he wanted with Okino, with trying to portray the ninja, and that way he didn't have any complications, and he wanted more energy cubes for the his portal that he's entering in Ninjago City. I think that is so cool because his voice actor is incredible. I think it's awesome, and just having him, just a very intimidating villain that we don't know really hardly anything about. I think it's just so cool.
No, I think you're absolutely right with that. And I love how he's being treated in this season because we're really getting teased by his presence. And in the end, he's actually like sort of a god in this universe because he can
Hmm.
literally pause time and he can talk to only one particular individual. and he just looks at you from the sky like he's some sort of god, and he's talking
Right.
down to you, and the voice is so menacing. It really just, I personally cannot wait to find out more about this character. And the fact that he also has a dragon form, I think is
Yeah.
great. Even though we
He
have seen these
transforms into a
dragon
dragon.
forms before with the Overlord, I still feel like it's a good touch because it's obviously adding to that menacing factor. And so
Hmm.
overall, I think we have a promising villain who isn't really being used as a crutch to move the season along, and is rather just being a really good plot device to get to the end of the season. And he's like that background like threat that the ninja are working towards, and we really are just trying to figure out like what he really wants, his intentions, and we're kind of getting hints and clues towards that. But we still are working on this mystery with Zane and Pixel on finding out who he really is, because obviously they're trying to find Milton Dyer, the creator of this game Prime Empire. But I have a sneaking suspicion that it's not actually Milton Dyer who's behind Unagami. I don't know what your thoughts on that are, Braden.
I mean, I know it. I know what's going on. I don't really want to spoil it for you, but I mean, but yeah, it's really interesting how it plays out in the show. I mean, even watching the Vietnamese versions, you can tell, what's kind of going on. So, but yeah, I think you'll be really surprised with it, honestly, and I think you'll actually really like it. Um, I think it's really cool. That flashback scene in one of the episodes says a lot about, what's going on. So I think it's really cool.
Right. So you obviously then know who Unagami really is.
Correct.
With that being said, I have a theory on who I believe Unagami actually is, and I don't believe that it was Milton Dyer, but there was one little hint thrown in that episode with Zane and Pixel when they did go to Milton Dyer's childhood home. And there's that picture
Hmm.
of Milton Dyer with that one individual right beside him. And when Zane or Pixel, whoever asked the mother of Milton Dyer who that was, she was saying, "Oh, it's a friend, but I don't remember his name." I feel like this friend is the one who is actually Unagami in the end, and that this is obviously just a theory of mine. You don't have to confirm it or not.
Right.
I don't want to
Oh,
spoil
no, no,
anything
no.
for
Yeah, I
anybody.
don't want you to. Yeah, I don't want to spoil it for you. I want you to be surprised for it. So.
But I just kind of had like the sneaking suspicion because that really just seemed a little bit awkward to me. And I feel like that character wouldn't have been mentioned unless he has some kind of importance. And I feel like it's some kind of foreshadowing. And I feel
Hmm.
like it's some kind of like, it's a classic, like, both of them built this game together. And then someone had a creative difference. And then maybe he got trapped in the game as Unagami by Milton Dyer, and then some. I don't really. I'm just making guesses at this point, but I
Right,
feel like it would
right.
be a classic trope that would work well in this season because we always know that Ninjago tries to throw some twists and turns at us, and I feel like the story isn't as straightforward as they're making it seem to be. Because I mean, it's
Hmm.
been stated from basically the beginning that the ninja believe that Milton Dyer is Unagami and is this threat in this new season. So I feel like having that twist would be really really cool. But
I
that's just
agree.
my opinion on that. In
Yeah.
regards to these episode arcs, how do you like them? Like, for example, that Speed Race 5 billion.
I think it's really cool. I like the race was very entertaining. Like it was like a lot of fun. There was a lot of stuff going on. I thought each racer, because I mean, they presented the racers beforehand, and so you got to know each set, like the teams in this mini episodes, and you get to know a little bit about Racer 7 in the mini episodes. I really recommend you watch them, honestly, because it kind of gives you a little bit of background about what's going on.
Yeah,
And
because I really haven't ventured into them, and I kind of like just realized that many of the questions that I have about this season are probably going to be answered in those episodes.
right, right. And so and then the sacrifice of the ninja I thought was so great, honestly. And I just like how they're just changing it up. It's not just a straightforward. Like, there's all like every episode there's always something going like on.
Hmm.
There's something that's new and different, and it's just fun to me. It's just fun. It's just a fun season with a really cool background.
No, it really is. It's just really a fun season that's entertaining to watch and just forget about whatever your hardships are in life or whatever, and just kind of
Right.
immerse yourself into the world of Ninjago. So I do hope that a lot of fans enjoy the season as well because I was really pleasantly surprised. Um, in regard to that Speed Race 5 billion, I do want to just point out that one scene that really stuck out to me. I mentioned it to you before off camera, but that one scene where Racer 7 is talking to Lloyd, and she doesn't
Yeah.
believe Lloyd that this entire simulation is really just a game. And then she goes into the race and she keeps losing at that same exact spot. That entire soundtrack, the entire sequence was just so beautiful. It really made me feel like some kind of emotional attachment to this character that I didn't really even know about. But just
Hmm.
seeing her go through that issue, I thought was so beautifully done. I really like commend the people behind this show because they really outdid themselves with this season. They have shown time and time again that Ninjago is still quite prevalent. Like, obviously, season 11 wasn't the best, but they have learned from their mistakes and they're creating something great with this new episode format. And so, I'm kind of cutting them some slack since they kind of had to, I guess, adjust to this 11-minute, 12-minute episode format. And they're really giving us some good work here.
I agree, 100%. I thought that scene was honestly really good. It's a great scene. Her running around, and I guess like kind of like I mean, how would you feel if you found that your world wasn't real and that you were programmed to lose a race? And I mean, that would kind of make you feel like a little bit unfair, like you were treated unfairly. And so like, and when she broke her programming, that was honestly a really great thing too. Thought that was cool. She finally got that, sense of victory for once in her life, I guess. I just thought that was really cool too as well.
Yeah, no, it was just really a parallel to Okino and how we saw his character evolve in a few episodes back. And I'm just really enjoying this entire concept because you couldn't display these stories in regular Ninjago seasons because it
Right.
wouldn't have this digital aspect to it. And so, with this new digital aspect, we're exploring new tropes and new character arcs that we really haven't seen before. So I'm thoroughly impressed
Mm-hmm.
with how the season is going so far. And in regard to characters who are programmed, I do want to talk about a certain character, an NPC. I think you know where I'm leading on to this, but it was in the latest episode, episode 12, in
Mm-hmm.
where Lloyd
Oh
does
yeah.
face a little battle and it was indeed with Harumi, or what he thought to be Harumi, but in
Oh
fact it
yeah.
was just a character, an NPC that Unagami programmed to mess with Lloyd a little bit and kind of give him a challenge. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. I loved every second of it. I thought it was great. I thought, the old combat style of like, the kind of Mortal Kombat type fight scene was really cool, and just the dialogue between both of them I thought was really great because just you see Lloyd just get tearing like just torn down by her, and then like having to face her again, having to see her again after she died in season 9. She was crushed by the building, and I just thought that was just an incredible scene. Whoever wrote that scene, fantastic job. You get a 10 out of 10 from me. That was awesome, and also the air jitsu throwback in that episode was also really cool too.
I think that's something that I really like about this season. It's the fact that it has bits of fan service here and there, but it's not overwhelming fan service. And it's really
Right.
just giving you just enough to satisfy any Ninjago fan who's been with the series for quite some time, especially post Ninjago movie era. So I really do like how this season is just giving us bits and pieces of fan service that I really can indulge in and kind of enjoy. The Harumi sequence, I think, personally, was great. I really loved the music as well. The soundtrack for this season has been spectacular. It's
Hmm.
unique. It's something that we haven't seen before. And I know I say that a lot in regard to Prime Empire, but it's because it's
Yeah.
true. It's the fact that we really haven't seen this type of music, this type of story in any Ninjago season prior to this one. And so I just really have to commend them on that. I was watching this scene actually without my headphones because I was listening to the audio through my headphones, but they weren't necessarily on my ears. And as soon as I saw
Hmm.
Harumi pop up on the screen, I put my headphones on because I was like, this is where things are gonna get real, and I really need to like listen to the soundtrack and stuff and kind of indulge this moment and enjoy it because I know it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal. And it really was. It was quite emotional. You know, the conversation that they had back and forth, I thought was
Yeah.
really like heartbreaking and gut wrenching. I felt like if I was Lloyd, especially, I feel like that would just really play with my emotions. And the fact
Yeah.
that they both in the end got killed off, well, killed off,
It was
quote
awesome.
unquote, was yeah, it was a really good touch, and I
Yeah.
personally enjoyed it. In regards to where this season is heading towards, I feel like Nia is going to be that ninja that loses that last life, and then it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
up to Jay to finally stand up to Unagami and kind of put an end to this. And I've actually really been enjoying that trope because we have a full team of ninja, and then one by one they start dying off, quote unquote. And
Yeah.
in the end, it's just going to be that one lone ninja trying to fight and save his friends again. And I feel like it's really interesting. Like, I don't. Remind me if I'm wrong. Have we seen some kind of like arc like this before? I really don't think we have. We're just one sole
Not really.
ninja.
We haven't seen anything. Yeah, we haven't really seen anything like that. I mean, we saw the ninja get split up and hunted, but other than that, we haven't really seen this happen before. Because it's if it's one, if it's down to one ninja, we've never experienced that. Well, we kind of saw that with Skybound.
I
Because remember
guess,
how Natacon
yeah,
took off, took
yeah.
out, and it was Jay left.
In a
But I mean, this just
sense,
feels like a fresher take though, because it's like it's more emotional to see your friend just get blown up into pixels, you knowing he's dead, and you don't know how to get him back. That's kind of a more emotional, like type of death, in my opinion, rather than the Skybound death, because his soul is trapped in the sword in Skybound, but you don't know where your friends are going. They're getting
you're,
used for a portal. Like
yeah,
that's
no,
just.
you're right, you're right. No, I actually, I forgot about that Skybound arc. That kind of makes this one feel a little bit less special, but I feel like it's more, it's better executed than the Skybound one, in my opinion.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, it's not bad.
with that being said, this entire season, I feel like as a whole, it's definitely a step up from season 11. And in regard to this particular season and what we're getting in the summer, I just wanted to ask you because I feel like a lot of fans also have this question, so we
Oh
kind of
yeah, I
need some
do.
clarification. Is this going to be a similar type thing with season 11 where there's a fire chapter and then an ice chapter? So this like the digital chapter, and then there's going to be a continuation of season 12, which is going to be that medieval chapter.
I don't really believe so. I mean, I guess you could kind of see it like that because this is a 16 episode thing, but they are, I believe they are standalone seasons. Like this will be season 12, and then the season 13 stuff is coming in the summer. So I really do believe. I don't really think they'll continue on. I don't really do much with the show, but with the sets, they look completely different. They look, everything is just more spread out than where it was with the fire chapter thing because those sets kind of came all in one wave and then all had just a continuing thing where this stops and then goes on to a whole nother completely different storyline type thing for Ninjago in the summer. So I do believe that it is split into two parts, not necessarily two parts, but you know what I mean, like two stories,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
rather than just continue in one. I mean, yeah, it'll still, like, how in Prime Empire, if you saw the thing where I had the Asphyra like little bit, like 8-bit little thing that popped up. Like it's going to be kind of like throwing back references, sure, but I don't really think it's going to necessarily like be a complete throw off of like it was with the Ice chapter.
Right. Actually, I forgot that both the ice chapter and fire chapter sets came out at the same time. So yeah, it's probably going to be a separate season in and of itself. Um,
Right.
but like at the same time, this is a brand new format, and
Mm-hmm.
I really don't know how the people behind Ninjago are going to be separating these two seasons and stuff like that. So I mean, it is kind of reasonable to assume that they would be part of the same season, just split into two chapters. But now, with what you said, I kind of see that it probably would be its own separate standalone season, which honestly kind of makes it
Right.
better because I feel like it's better to have separate seasons respectively
Mm-hmm.
instead of having one huge season dive into these two story arcs and kind of not delve deep enough, because I felt really unsatisfied with season 11, at least the fire
I agree.
chapter. I felt
Yeah.
like it was kind of rushed, and any episodes that they could have used to enhance the story, they kind of wasted on filler, which is another thing
Mm-hmm.
as well. This season really doesn't focus on filler. Like
Not at all.
any kind of scene that you see, it has to do with the story, which I really do admire and I really do like. Because the
I
last
agree.
season, I mean, it had such a bad problem of filler.
Oh yeah. No, I agree with you on that. I was not too fond of the filler stuff, and I'm glad this season kind of takes care of that in a way. Kind of gets rid of that filler stuff, and it focuses more on the story and kind of getting to the point, with the story and everything. Like the Okino episode just kind of explained his story, what was going on, and things like that. Some people call it filler. I don't really necessarily I don't really like see it as filler. I see it as adding to his character and explaining the story a bit more. I mean, yeah, it could be filler, but I mean, in my eyes, I was entertained by the episode. I liked it. I like how they explained the level that was going on and everything. So I thought it was great, honestly. I didn't really see it as filler, as some other people do.
I'll be honest, I really overlooked that episode as being filler because I saw both, I believe it was episode 5 and 6 at the same time. So to me, it was just one giant episode. But I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that first portion of Okino's story was really necessary because it had to drive the story forward. And
Right.
it was they were explaining, how this was really a treacherous task and how it was taking a toll on Okino's mental health, and then to have the ninja come through and inspire him again. I feel like it was really really cool to see. So in that regard, I really do feel like that was a necessary filler episode. It wasn't wasted like many
I agree.
episodes were with season 11. And I think another admirable thing that this season does is make the season feel alive and the world of Ninjago feel alive without the use of these filler episodes. Because a lot of people were arguing that, these filler episodes in season 11 were adding to the world building of Ninjago. And to a degree, they are right. But
Mm-hmm.
doesn't this season feel much more alive than
Oh
season
yeah,
11?
dude, I 100% agree with you. Oh yeah, I think it does, honestly. It just feels fresh to me, really. Like it just feels like something new, and lots is going on. Like a lot is going on. So like, I agree with you there when you say it feels alive because I get that vibe too. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. And I just feel like it's something admirable that, this season has accomplished without relying on that crutch filler that season 11 was really, heavily pushing. So,
Right.
with that being said, I just feel like this season is really in a good place and Ninjago is in a really good place. And I'll be
Right
honest,
now it is. Yeah.
yeah, like I took a peek at the sets way before the season even released, and this was in that state where I really wasn't feeling Ninjago as much.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at the sets, and I was like, these are decent sets. It's nothing special. It's nothing out of the ordinary. I would kind of compare them to Skybound sets in regard to how they are, because I felt like Skybound was a decent wave. It wasn't anything too special, but it didn't suck. It was just like in
Yeah.
the middle. So these sets kind of like pertain to that as well. But the story, after seeing these episodes, it really makes you like Lego knows how to sell their product, man. Like after seeing all 12 of these episodes today, I'm kind of like debating on whether to pick up one of these sets, even though they're not the most beautiful things looking. They just I want a piece of this season just to remember, I guess, because
Yeah.
that's the thing that I have. If I really do like a season, I'll go ahead and buy a set. Like it doesn't matter
Yeah.
how good the sets are in regard to like season 11, let's say, because it had some really good sets and spectacular standouts. But I didn't pick any one of those up because the season sucked. And it's like, why
Yeah.
would I want
Yeah.
a reminder of a sucky ass season in my house when I could pick up a set from a great season? So, in that respect, I guess I'm kind of a weirdo. But I'm actually really curious if any of you
Yeah.
guys down in the comments also have a similar, I guess, problem where you only buy sets from a Ninjago season if it turns out to be really, really good. Because I know that before when I was a Ninjago fan. I was trying to get my hands on those sets as early as possible, just so that I could get
Me.
reviews out. I know, but I've kind of like grown past that, and I'm kind of like exploring, you know, collecting Ninjago sets based on seasons that I actually enjoy.
I feel you, bro. Well, I mean, I'm a collector, so I buy everything Ninjago under the sun. So, I mean, like, I buy it all. I mean, I like them. Like, I love Lloyd's Titan Mech. The Land Bounty's cool. Like, I mean, I think the Prime Empire sets are great too. I like them, but I mean, like, like, and seeing the season really makes me appreciate the sets even more. So I know where you're coming from with that because, it makes me like the sets like a whole lot more than I do the Forbidden Spinjitzu sets, as their season wasn't as up to par as this one. I mean, the sets are still cool, don't get me wrong, but like, as like a seasonal standpoint, like looking at it from the show standpoint, they're kind of like eh. But like the Prime Empire sets, on the other hand, are so much cooler due to the fact that the season is so awesome. You know what I'm saying? So like, I totally get where you're coming from with that.
I'm actually glad that you understand me on that point because it just makes you look at these sets in a different light. Like you have a different perspective when you look at them because the
Right.
season is good and you're like, well, now I actually understand, that these sets, even though they're not the best looking, they actually do their purpose. And I kind of want to discuss these sets actually since we've been rambling around about
Yeah,
the
bro.
episodes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, when you take a look at these Prime Empire sets, how do you rate them based on a scale of 1 to 10 as a whole?
Okay. Well, when it comes down, now my favorite set is probably the Temple of Madness, just because it's just wacky and weird, and I love it for that reason. And but it's not the best thing out there. Sure, you can get better temples, but I mean, I like the colors, I like the translucent, I love the minifigures. Cole is a great one to get. Lloyd, Jay, the Red Visor, and Unagami is also that exclusive Shushimi figure is also really cool to get as well. I rate that one about an 8 out of 10. Honestly, it's not the best thing. I think the price is there for it. Honestly, I think it's a good one. I like the play features where you use the katanas to kind of open everything up. I think that's really cool. There's a little mini arcade. There's a kitchen. There's a whole back room where Ugami can see all like what's going on in the game, which is cool. He has his like own little throne area, which I really like. And then like kind of the presentation of the temple itself, like the blacks, the reds, the blues, I think is really good. I love that color scheme. A set that is fantastic that I give a 9 out of 10 probably is the Gamer's Markage, because you get that, finally we get Pink Zane, right? That one's awesome. You get a crap ton of minifigures. I love the Okino minifigure, the Harumi, the Pink Zane, of course. It also comes with Avatar, Nia, and Cole, which are kind of they're reuses of a lot of parts that are already out, but I mean it's something, I guess. You get Scott as well in a cheap set. Jay is a nice one to get. You get Richie in a pretty cheap set as well, and then they come with, it comes with a lot of exclusive minifigures. So I think that's really cool, and exclusive parts as well, like that Shuriken. There's a big Shuriken piece that's in neon green, and that's an exclusive piece to that set, which I think is cool. And you also get a Kitana in that set as well, so that's pretty cool. As far as the other ones go, the Empire Dragon is cool. I like that one because it's a cheap way to get Unagami, and the build itself is actually pretty solid. I actually really like that. I like the way that they use the there's like a ski, like what are they called? Ice skate pieces on his, like, for his toes, and his wings used out of the blades, which I think are really cool. The new blade molded piece. Um, the Cyber Dragon is great, honestly. I'm a big fan of that one. I like the articulation they put in this one. There's also the missile feature, and there's an exclusive Nia figure, which I know a lot of people were like, kind of like, oh, it's exclusive Nia. But yeah, you get Unagami, Nia, Jay, and the two Arats, Richie and Halsner in that, and also the yellow Kitana, which I think is really cool. I like the way that's all presented. I think that one's what, 50? I think that's 50 or 60.
Yeah,
So not
it's
a bad deal.
$50.
50. Okay, yeah, it's not a bad deal. And then Kai's Mech Jet is cool. The fact that it's a 2-in-1, honestly, is just a really solid thing for me. Not one that, if you're like a huge collector and want to get all the minifigures, not one I really recommend. The mech it's all right. It's average. The Kai Fighter is cool, I guess. Like the Kai Jet Fighter is cool. Um, that one's a little lower on my list. But also the Velocity Racers, because I mean we've gotten a double bike set for so many Ninjago waves in the wintertime, like Skybound, Sons of Garmadon, and the Hands of Time, Vermilion and J bikes as well. So seeing that but it is a fresh take on the bikes because we get the little plane for Jay, and then a totally new redesigned like bike for Lloyd, which I think is really cool. And you get so Jay, Lloyd, and the Hosner, or it's actually Richie in the show, but they messed that up like they did Crux Electronics, whatever. And you get a Kitana with that as well. So not a bad set, honestly. I think it's it's whatever. And then there's Cole's speeder car, which is the 4+ set. It's cool. It actually is canon to the show, which is cool. And then you get the Kitana, and that's like you get Cole, which is the cheapest way to get Cole, which is cool. And yeah, I've covered like all the sets except the arcade pods. The arcade pods are probably the coolest thing out of the whole wave. I love those things, and I love how they incorporated them in the show, with the blue one being the original Prime Empire cabinet, and then the red one being the Terra Techna one, and then the green one being Okino's level one where they enter. I think that's really cool with how they did that. And then and you get 2 minifigures for $10, which I think is a fantastic deal. So you get the Digi Ninja and their avatars and a ton of weapons. And they're also exclusive. The Avatar Ninja are exclusive to the arcade pods, which I think are really cool. But yeah, all in all, Prime Empire Wave is actually a pretty solid wave, and the fact that the season's so good makes the wave even cooler to me. And I really have more of appreciation for some of the sets I looked down on before, due to the fact that they're incorporated in the show and that they have a lot of light in the show. So I think that's honestly something that I would really take in consideration when you're buying these sets. And even the Gamers Market is actually in the show as well. When they first enter, you had that market scene with the weapon shop, the food place, and everything. And so I think as a minifigure pack, I think that's like a fantastic set. So honestly, I think this wave is pretty solid for the fact that they're all used in the show.
So
really
what
cool.
would you rate the wave overall out of 10?
Probably a 7 out of 10, honestly. The new wave that's coming up blows me out of the water, so that'll probably take the cake for the year. But this one isn't bad. Considering they all get used in the show, but then again, the builds are kind of like it's just like how the winter waves are like really small and everything. It's just really small. There's not a lot of volume to some of the
Yeah, and
sets,
usually the
and I
summer is what
kind of
really
wish
pushes
they
the bulk.
right, and I like yeah, I get their play sets and everything, but like just seeing, what we have coming up compared to this, I'd rather look forward to that one. But if that wasn't there, then this way would be pretty solid. I'd give it a 7 out of 10, honestly, because I wish some of the builds were a little bit bulkier, and I wish they could have had more detail and things like that. But for the most part, I think it's a pretty solid wave, and I would definitely recommend getting some of these sets if I was a Ninjago fan.
I really wish that I could agree with you, but my take is going to be I guess, a little bit more controversial, because I've been thinking while you were talking about a set, I guess, that I would consider my favorite from this wave, but I
Uh-huh.
really can't name one that stands out. Like, all the builds are kind of mediocre to meh. Like, they're all right for what they are, and it's
Sure.
standard for Ninjago, but there's not, one set that really stands out. Of course, you could look at the gamers market and say, yo, that set has 9 minifigures. It's such a good deal, which it is. It's a great deal. But in regards to the builds and the minifigures, there's not really one set that captivates both of them, in my opinion. You did
Mm-hmm.
mention the Temple of Madness being your favorite, and I could see where you're coming from. And I'm not saying that it's a bad set by any means, because obviously it's the flagship set of the wave, and it's the big boy that everybody wants to get. And the minifigure selection is, of course, great. You have Tsushimi, which is an exclusive. You have Unagami,
Right.
as you mentioned. You also have Red Visor, and then you have 3 Ninja. So it's a good minifigure selection, but the build itself is so weird and wacky, and I understand why, because they had to make it like that for this season. Um,
Right.
but I don't know. It really is, just a play set, and I think that's what they focused on for that set, and maybe that's why I'm not
Mm-hmm.
really liking it too much, because if you're a kid, you're really gonna have such a fun time with that. Using the katanas, as you said, to unlock
Oh
certain
yeah.
parts of the temple and progress with your challenges. But I don't know. Like, maybe the Turner car would be my favorite, I guess. just because
Mm-hmm.
it gives me that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle vibe, and comes with 2 red visors, which is good for army building. You get Scott, which is a good character I like, and you also get
And that
Kai,
set
I
actually
believe.
pulls a DeLorean. It pulls a DeLorean, like the wheels fold in, and you can actually make it fly, which I think is really cool. Like it did in the show with Nia, how she made it fly or whatever.
I
Thought that
actually
was a
did
really
not
cool
know
thing they
that.
added. Yeah,
Damn,
the wheels
so
fold in.
that's cool. So that's actually a cool feature. So yeah, if I had to pick a favorite, it would probably be that set. Which, by the way, guys, if you made it to this point of the video, I did want to throw in a little treat. Since you guys know, Legos are quite expensive nowadays, and quarantine times has us pressed for our wallets. But Walmart.com does have a deal in which you can pick up this set for $31.99, which is indeed a steal since the set normally costs $39.99. So picking it up for practically $10 less is a cool thing. So if you guys do want to pick up that Turner car, then there's going to be a link down below in the description. But yeah, overall, I feel like this wave of sets is meh. Like, you gave your rating as a 7 out of 10 as a solid wave. If I was to
Mm-hmm.
give my rating based on just the sets alone, not based on any kind of perspective after watching the show, it would probably have to be a 5 out of 10, maybe even a 4. But after
Yeah.
watching the show, I would probably bump it up to a 6, maybe. But yeah, it's really nothing too special. But I do feel like Ninjago is on the right track in regard to storytelling and in regard to the show. So
Mm-hmm.
that is something that I just really I can't harp on because it's good. It's great. I'm really enjoying it. But I don't know. Do you have
Right.
any final thoughts on Prime Empire as we wrap up this first episode?
I just well, first of all, it is a pleasure doing this with you, bro. It's awesome. I'm so glad we get to kick this off. I'm actually really excited to see where this goes, this podcast. So
I'm
thank
really
you for that.
excited as well. I can't wait to see if we could get any guests on here as well, kind of spice things up.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, Prime Empire I think is a really solid season. I'm excited to see where the next 4 episodes lead as far as storytelling and as far as, just explaining and wrapping up the story as a whole. I think this season is honestly gonna be a very solid season, considering the last few seasons have not been too fantastic, but they were experimenting with season 11, and I think they finally hit it with season 12. I think they got it. I seriously do. I think there's a few things they could work on, but for the most part, I think it honestly works well. And I like the way that they're doing it, and I hope they do the same with season 13. I hope season 13 blows us out of the water. I hope it's even better than season 12. But that's for time to tell. And so, but yeah, for the most part, Prime Empire is a great season, and I'm excited to see, how they end up, wrapping it up.
I agree. I feel like Ninjago needs to keep this streak if they want to remain relevant, especially in this day and age. And I know there's a bunch of Ninjago fans, and I know that there are also a lot of Ninjago fans who kind of felt like I did in regard to season 11. I did see a bunch of comments in my comment section for the season 11 videos, in where people really weren't feeling the season, and a lot of them decided to just quit. So I do hope that if any of you Ninjago fans out there did quit, I really do hope that you give season 12 a chance, because you really won't end up regretting it. I feel like it's a really good story, and it's kind of gonna set things straight. So I really do hope that you guys actually check this out. But yeah, I guess that would wrap up the first episode of the Dojo podcast. I do
Oh
hope that you
yeah.
guys enjoyed this episode, and leave a comment down below on what you want me and Braden to discuss in the next episode for next week. We're kind of going to be leaning towards season 13, since we kind of already
Mm-hmm.
discussed everything we could about Prime Empire and stuff like that. But if you guys have any specific, I guess, topics that you guys want us to talk about, I guess things in the Ninjago community, issues, problems, anything like that, be sure to leave a comment down below, and we'll try to fit that into the next episode as we go along here. But hopefully, you guys enjoy this brand new series that we're starting here, and I do hope that you guys stick around for this long ride. But yeah, with that being said, my name is David. I'll catch you guys in the next one. And Braden, any last words?
Ninja Whip, peace out, bro.
Catch you guys in the next one.